Welcome to Human Powered, the podcast about creating a high-performing agency or consultancy business. I'm Trenton Moss, leadership coach, exited agency founder, and author of the book Human Powered. And on my podcast, my guests spill their secrets about how they've created high-performing teams and how this has translated into running a high-performing business. And today I have Becky Simms, founder and CEO of Reflect Digital. Becky, hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me. So, Becky, you're the founder of Reflect Digital, a performance marketing agency all about leveraging human behavior insights to optimize customer experiences. So you founded the agency 13 years ago. You've won loads of awards along the way. And then around 5 years ago, you became part of the Lab Group. And then last year, you came out of the Lab Group and you formed your own group, the Human First Collective, of which there's now 3 companies in there with around 60 people. So you've been on, I'm sure, this amazing journey the last 13 years. Let's start with, how do you define high performing within Reflect?
Oh, that's a really good question, isn't it? Start off with a good one. I would say to begin with, it's having curiosity. Like anyone that is going to be a high performer has to be curious to understand the business and the world around us and the market, curious to understand themselves and be really good at self-reflection, to be able to understand where their weaknesses are and where they need to continue to develop, but also be curious around other people and how to get the best out of the people in the business and their colleagues, whether they're a manager or just a specialist in a team. They need to be curious themselves. I think also empathy. Having empathy, we're a very heartfelt organization. One of our values is around family, and some people find that really cringy, but if you come to Reflect, you feel it. It's hard to describe, but family felt like the best word for it. We look out for each other, but also challenge each other. So therefore, being empathetic and being able to understand people is really, really important. Also, I think having that ability to zoom out, being able to be strategic, not just being focused in your swim lane and what's going on for you, but being able to come back out and see the effect that has on the wider organization or in the market, etc. I think that's really key. And you have to love what you do. We have it written on the wall in the office. You have to love what you do. You spend most of your life working. So loving what you do is absolutely core to this. And yeah, we've got some really good high performers in our business.
I love how clear you are on this. You really know what high performing means. And one of them, love what you do is written on the wall. So it's reminding everyone day in, day out. I'm curious, Becky, what else is written on the wall?
Oh, there's loads of, the values are on the wall. That's really clear. We've got a few kind of different little anecdotal kind of marketing quotes on the wall as well. But love what you do is the one that I come back to. And that great quote that I think gets said by Mark Twain, but there's also other people that are said to have said it as well, of that find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That sits as part of our vision, because I just generally believe it. Like we do so much stuff to inspire young people, and I always say to them, like, how do you feel about the thought of work? And they're like, oh, work sounds boring. And I'm like, no, it really doesn't. Like when you find something you love, it doesn't feel like work. That's not to say there aren't Monday mornings where I would rather it was still Sunday. Like I am human, but I love what we do. Like it doesn't feel like work.
And that thing that's important to you, love what you do. I can hear in your voice that you're living that.
I definitely try to, and try to help the team too. And you know what? One of the things I think we've got really good at, and we've been good at for a long time, but I feel like we've really honed it, is being able to have those conversations with team members to make sure that they actually love what they do. And if they don't, trying to create a safe space where they feel comfortable to tell us they don't. And if they don't, to then be able to work out, well, what does that mean? Can we find a different role for you? Can we rescope your role? And this isn't about saying, oh, I don't like doing the admin or whatever. It's about not genuinely loving the path that they've chosen. Or sometimes it's a case of going, do you know what, let's help you find something else. Like, we've got networks of people we know in similar businesses, in different businesses. Let's help you find something else, because there's no point carrying people that don't love what they do, because they're not going to put their heart and their all into it. And that's going to change our direction or not allow us to achieve what we're trying to achieve. And also, they're not going to be happy. And that's probably the most important thing. We want people to be happy. So yeah, we try really hard around having those conversations and people not feeling like they can't mention it because they think, would I get sacked if I said this? It's like, no, of course you wouldn't. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if we can fix it. And if not, let's help you fix it.
How do you create that psychological safety in the business?
It takes time. It really does. And you know what? When new people join, we see like there tends to be a penny drop moment for them that might be, it's at least 6 months in, but maybe a bit longer for some. It depends what kind of organisation they've come from. Some people still kind of hold a kind of feeling of, this sounds too good to be true. I can't believe it would be true. Part of it is our long-term people, our people where the penny has already dropped. They're the advocates, because there's no point in me saying and obviously I do say it, but I know it doesn't have the same effect. It has the effect when their colleague says, well, you should just go and talk to Becky and Paul about that, or you should just talk to your line manager about that, and helping them to realise that it'll actually be okay to go and have that conversation, and it will be one of the best conversations you could have, rather than sitting here feeling grumpy about it or not knowing what to do. So it's the team that help that to happen, and it's our long-term advocates that are the ones that really help us create that, because yeah, you never quite believe the messages at the top if you're new to it, and especially if you've come from maybe a not so nice or even a toxic work environment, then it feels completely unbelievable.
So it's one thing for people to hear it from the leadership, but when they hear it from people who are a bit more on the ground, like, no, you can go talk to Becky, it really will be fine. Becky, tell me a bit about how those conversations tend to go.
Definitely. So recently there was a conversation with somebody that had kind of fallen a bit out of love with their role, but also had this real kind of itch for automation, AI, was really getting passionate about that. And they'd had some experience of that in a previous role, but were currently sitting within our SEO department. So they reached out to their line manager and to Paul and I and just said, look, can we have a chat? And they had this idea that they wanted their role to move more into helping us with AI and automation in the business. So we said, okay, cool. I mean, it's very on topic of things we're concerned about, but obviously, where's the revenue going to come from? What does that look like? Because obviously at the moment, clients pay for most of your time. So it's going to be a leap to change that. So they went away, and honestly, this person, and if they're listening to this, they'll know exactly who they are. And actually, most of the team do, because they're about to run a lunch and learn session on how they tackled this process, because they basically went away and created a business case. But it was the best business case I've ever seen, in that they literally took our vision, they took our numbers. We're really transparent on the numbers we're trying to achieve. And they used all of that fuel to say how they were going to save money, create new revenue streams, and build a new role. And within probably 2 months of that conversation, they're now in that new role, and it's happening, and they're loving it, excited about it. The business is excited about it. Like, their colleagues are excited to be sharing ideas on what they want to see automated and what they want to see tested to help them enable AI more in their roles. So yeah, that was a great example. And actually, someone else could have been sitting on that, not coming forward, thinking, oh, I could never mention this. And actually, we just kind of prodded to say, well, show us how it could work. And they absolutely delivered on that. And there you go, in a new role.
That's a wonderful example. And what I really like about it is it ties into so many of those things you were saying about what creates high performing within Reflect. There's curiosity there, being curious about, new technology available. There's empathy there in terms of looking out for what the business needs. There's kind of zooming out and being strategic. And there's moving forward to, making sure that you still love what you do. How do you make sure that Reflect is full of people like that?
Oh, and that is a tough one. You're never going to have everybody that has the same passion as that one individual, as an example. And they are one of those high performing people. You pulled that out nicely. But I think we've got really good at the recruitment process, a lot better than we used to be. In the early days, it was probably a bit hit and miss, but probably like a lot of people that have gone and started agencies, I'd actually never been in charge of recruitment before. So then I've started an agency and suddenly I'm recruiting people and no real idea how to get that right. And yeah, it takes some bum hires for you to realise, oh, hold on, something's not going right here. Maybe we haven't got the right process. But also I think actually the market's matured in that now it's really acceptable to ask people to do tasks and to do multi-stages. And so we've really built our process. So now our recruitment process starts with Amy, who's our office manager and sits within our people team. Now, Amy, she won't mind me saying this. We had a conversation recently because she does these first interviews and she records them. And I watched this first interview and I'd not seen her doing these before. And she started off by kind of excusing but being the office manager talking to them. And I was like, no, Amy, you are the keys to our culture. I trust your gut instinct over most of the teams because that's your job. You're in it every day. You have conversations with every person in this business. You know this. So do not excuse yourself. Like, you are the front runner in that conversation for a reason. And it's critical. And you know what? The next one she did, she absolutely smashed it because she had that confidence in the conversation, which was brilliant to see. But so she'll do like a half an hour, which is a culture check. It's telling them a bit more about the role, the process they're going to go through, and asking them some questions about their values and the type of experience they've got. So providing they get through that, they'll then go through to a more traditional interview with whoever the hiring manager is. We have a set process around that of putting together the right kind of questions ahead of time so that people get asked the same questions for the same role, etc. And then it goes on, if they're successful from that, to a task interview. So we'll devise the task dependent on the role and fair to what we're expecting, and a fair representation of the work we'd expect the person to be doing. So it's it's great for us to see what they can do, but it's also great for them to see, can they do this type of work? Do they enjoy this type of work? And often it will be a real life brief that we've had and we've done work on, because then it's also quite nice if they start, we can show them how we actually executed on that as well, and see how aligned they are. So the task interview then is a really good experience for them to really flex their skills and show us what they can do. And we'll normally have a few extra people in there watching it. Sometimes even, especially if they're a senior person, it might be some of the people that would be working underneath them that sit in those interviews, because we like to make sure that they've been part of the process. It's really daunting if you've got a new manager coming in, but actually if you're part of the process and have had a chance to give some feedback, etc., and you feel brought in, you're going to be much more likely to be receptive to that person. So I think all of those steps, and then having a really strong onboarding process we do a 6 month probation period, which I think some people go, oh, 6 months always feels really long. But we used to find that sometimes we'd get to 3 months, we'd pass someone, and then in the next month, the wheels might fall off a little bit and we'd be like, okay, what keeps happening here? Whereas 6 months, we'll have really clear check-ins. So there's a really clear check-in within their first month of what's to be expected, to see how they're settling in. There's a 3 month check-in. And at that point, they should know if they're on track or if there's more that needs to happen. And then there's the 6 month. And obviously there's weekly check-ins, etc. in between. But they're the kind of big milestones to help onboard them properly and to give them every opportunity to be successful. And for us to keep hearing that feedback if there's anything we're not doing right for them.
You've got this really robust process for recruiting and onboarding. It sounds like you've learned from some of your mistakes in the past. You've said you've had some bum hires previously. What's the impact on the business when those bum hires come in?
It's so noticeable, and you know what, our team have got really good at kind of self-policing things. So especially if it's in a role that maybe, for example, I don't have day-to-day contact with, you'll hear very quickly that people have got concerns, not in a bitchy talking behind their backs kind of way, but in a, we need to give this person some more support, we're a bit concerned about this, and just really open and honest feedback, which is something we try and push throughout the business as well, across any role. And whether you're new or you've been here forever, I constantly am asking the team for feedback and trying to model that, because we constantly need to know. If we don't know the feedback and we just assume we're brilliant and that was another great meeting or another great piece of work we delivered, if no one tells us it wasn't, then how are we expected to learn? So yeah, the effect can be, and we haven't had someone like this in a very long time, but thinking back, you get some of those people that just do not fit the culture, and they don't. Normally the family value is the one that's they really stand out like a sore thumb if they're not that kind of person and they're not willing to really muck in. Maybe they're more of a lone wolf and want to just go and do their own thing, and they're not so much a team player, and they stick out like a sore thumb.
You've talked quite a bit about your values. You've got them up on the wall. What else do you do to drive home those values and to make sure that everyone is displaying them day in, day out?
Oh, there's lots of things we do. I guess our monthly thing we have a star of the month in the business, which is voted for by the team. But the only way you can vote for somebody is by describing something they've done that fits into one of our values. So they constantly have to be recognising how the person they're nominating fits into that. We have a humble brag channel on Slack, which is just there. It's meant to be there so that you can actually do a humble brag. So, for example, if you've had a brilliant piece of client feedback that comes to your email and you want to be able to tell everyone because they might not have seen it, then you absolutely can do that. But we also get people shouting each other out more than anything. And they'll often mention the values because they are so ingrained. But then also, for example, a couple of years ago, so we do team days every quarter, and probably 2 years ago, we did one all around our going for gold value. And we had Mark Hunter, the Olympic rower, come and join us for a session and talk about what it actually means to win gold. And oh my word, that was one of the most inspirational sessions we've done. Like, you could have heard a pin drop in the room. Also because if you're not into or the Olympics, you might not have known Mark's story. And actually, I knew it because I booked him and had a conversation with him. But I kind of, in the room, I didn't know the detail of the story. And he was with us for a good couple of hours, and he builds up telling you about the first time he goes to the Olympics and absolutely like out in the first round and devastating, having done all that training, and then talks about what they did differently before the next Olympics. And he's told you all about the training and the minute things that you have to pay attention to that all roll up into being able to achieve gold. And then he's telling you they're going to the Olympics, and then he gets you to watch the race, and you're literally like, oh. And yeah, he got gold, and it was just a fabulous story. But he did a brilliant job of relaying it back into business, and we still talk about it today. People in the team that were there, from thinking about all the micro actions that come together to help you to be able to go for gold in what you do. So yeah, we look for opportunities. I mean, that's the best one we've done for Go for Gold. It's going to be hard to top it, I think. But looking for like how we can find ways to bring to life and create stories around them from a values perspective that means something to people. And again, it's not just us telling them this is our value and this is how you go about bringing it to life. Actually seeing it from other people.
That sounds like an amazing session.
It really was.
So I'm curious. Having all of these values and this lovely culture, it's all well and good. You need to have a high-performing business, though, with everyone aligned in the right direction. How do you get that alignment? How do you align everyone around that shared vision?
So we went on a journey last year, and I'd say this is probably at the point that we've really got this right. So you mentioned at the start that we left the lab group last year. And at the point that we left the lab group, we brought a non-exec director on. So we started working with Nikki Gattenby. And she took us on the process of creating a vivid vision. So there's this wonderful book called Vivid Vision, written by Cameron Herold. And he's helped the likes of Elon Musk with Tesla. And it's this concept that in business, so often the people that are running the business or own the business, they've got this really clear vision, but it sometimes only gets translated to the team through numbers and targets, and it doesn't mean anything to the team because they can't really imagine what it looks like. So the idea is you go through this process, and the book's fabulous and tells you exactly how to do it, of writing your vivid vision. You take all of the key components, everything from finance to people, to the types of clients, to the type of work, to the type of services that you're offering, to what you care about in the world, sustainability, etc. all of those items, and you write as though it's 3 years' time. So it's written as though this is what's happening in Reflect Digital. And for ours, it's December 2026 is where it's written for. And wow, what an experience. One, for me to be able to get that down and get that out, but for the team to be able to then see it and feel it and know if they like it and they want to be part of it. And yeah, just a really, really good experience. And I think that this year I can see the difference in people referring to things. And as I said, that example earlier with our wonderful colleague that's moved into the automation role, a year ago, he wouldn't have had that. So it would have been much harder for him to do the process that he was trying to do. But actually, he just naturally could go, I can see exactly how my future role that I want fits into what we're trying to achieve. And it made it really easy for him to articulate that.
I love the idea of that vivid vision. And Becky, you've talked a lot about how you embed the values and the culture that you want, and how you put words up on the wall, and you kind of have all of this process in place to keep reminding everyone about it. What about the vision? What do you do to really embed that so everyone always remembers the direction of travel?
So we did a big session when the vision was first set, and the team had answered some questions ahead of setting the vision that actually helped. So they would have already, when they saw the vision, for some of them would have seen some of their ideas peppered throughout and their feelings, especially those that maybe are in leadership positions. Some of their thoughts probably were already relatively aligned from conversations they've been in. But we then did a big kind of kickoff around it and getting them to work on, so if we're going to achieve this, what's going to need to happen? So they helped us start to create the roadmap, which is brilliant because then it's their roadmap and it's for their departments. We then have working groups across the business, so working groups that are run by team members, and I try to keep my nose out and sometimes get pulled into some of them, but I try my best not to be involved in the working groups because it's their working groups and it's around core things. Like we have an AI working group, we've got a human first working group across the multiple businesses, we've got a working group around mental health and sustainability and key topics that we're working towards change within the business, or we're trying to ensure that we're at the forefront of what we're trying to do. So the team then work on that together, and every single team meeting we have, there'll be updates from working groups. We've got a monthly newsletter that goes out that will have updates from working groups. So everyone knows, and people can get involved whenever they want. Some of them are constantly open, that you could just drop in and see what's going on in a working group, and some of them it's more every now and then we open it up to say, would anyone else like to join, because someone else is dropping out for whatever reason, whether it's workload. But yeah, they're a big part of it, and then just constant feedback and trying to bring it back to the vision. So our team meetings, and our team meetings are really good now, even if I do say that myself, but that's more down to our brilliant video team than me, in that we used to, we've all been through this, if you were an office-based business that's gone hybrid, in that COVID came and suddenly it was like, hold on a minute. So we, for quite a long while, we were doing team meetings just literally with my laptop on a table, and some people sitting behind it in real life, some people trying to hear, not really being able to hear properly, and pretty dire. We've now got an amazing setup. It's almost like a news broadcast studio where the people that are at home can literally chime in and talk to us as though they're not at home, like they feel like they're part of the room. The people in the room have got microphones when they're talking, so definitely everyone at home can hear what's going on, etc. And it's brilliant. And the team meetings are built around things like, we have how have we been human first section, and we have work we're proud of, so we're constantly talking about the work that we've done and how that ties into going for gold, and it's all there, and it's just constant reminders. But the team are running a lot of that as well. So it's again, it's not always coming from me, I think, is the senior team. It's the team. They live and breathe it.
You've got so much going on in the business to keep the culture alive and to keep everyone aligned around the vision. Let's talk a little bit about you and your leadership style, and top 3 most important things that for you as a leader, you feel you should be doing to get everyone to be high performing.
Perfect. So one would definitely be a lesson that I learned, I'm going to say about halfway into the journey so far. So maybe like year 5. I feel like we hit a kind of one of those tricky years. We've all had a few of those more recently as well, probably. But we hit one of those kind of, when you're going towards the glass ceiling, it was probably around trying to hit £1 million or something like that. And it was hard. And if you imagine then, we were also a physical business. So everyone was in the office, so in person. And somebody said to me, and I can't remember, so I can't quote the wonderful person that said this, but they said the phrase, you have to remember you set the weather in the business. And I was like, oh, whoa, okay. I'd forgotten that. I'd not realised that. No one had told me that. You don't go to, not that I went to business school, but I don't think even doing a business degree teaches you that. And it was this idea that myself and Paul were both feeling really quite stressed, but we weren't maybe putting our big brave faces on in the office, which there's a balance because we're really open with the team and the team know about performance. But just remembering actually that part of your role is to inspire people and to get them to feel able to do their best work. And if they're sitting there thinking, oh, Becky and Paul look really worried and, I don't know, then suddenly you've put a load of stress onto them, which is going to hinder them being able to do what they're brilliant at doing. So that's the number one thing, is remembering that on part of setting the weather. Setting the weather is much harder now, though, I would say. We have maybe 40% of the team come to the office very regularly, and then the other 60%, for some of them where they're further afield, it might only be once a quarter. Some of them it might be once a month. So I don't have the opportunity to set their weather as much. So it's also something we then have to talk about with other leaders in the business that are doing those daily stand-ups or weekly team meetings or whatever cadence they're running, that they need to remember that they're part of setting that weather, and that they need to make sure that they're able to bring that energy and help inject that into everybody around what it is we're trying to do and why we love it, etc. So that's definitely a big part of it for being able to get everyone kind of in that high performing state. I think the vision and having the vision and setting it out how we have is a big part of it. I don't know, I'm going to use an example, but if my team are listening back, this isn't a personal example, but say you've taken somebody on as a SEO person and then you're like, they're really good, let's make them head of SEO. And actually, maybe that's not really what they're geared up to do. And actually, where we are now, we've been able to hire in our heads of departments as people that are meant to be heads of departments. That's what they were born to do. That's what they've grown through the ranks to do. And they bring that skill set. And actually our head of SEO was in our SEO team. He left and then we brought him back as a head of SEO, but he's brilliant. So that definitely wasn't a story about him, but it's so key to have the right people in those senior roles. It's one of the things, if I could go back, that I wish I knew, and that I wish I protected myself from more, or had more open conversations when asking someone to do a particular role, to say, do you know what, I think you'd be great at the moment for this, and we're going to try and grow you with the business, but there might come a time where you might not be right for this role anymore, and we might need to hire in someone with more experience to help us grow the business. And it's things like that you just don't know on that first part of the journey. But now having those really strong people, and some people with even better experience than I've got, that I can lean on, that Laura, who's our head of client services, she is just one of the best managers I've ever come across. And I just look at her and think, wow, I'm just proud to have you in our business and to be helping set these standards and helping other heads of departments be able to mimic some of what she's doing, because she is just fantastic.
Wow, there's so much wonderful stuff in there. One of the interesting things that you did as a business is you moved to a 4-day week a while back. What impact did that have?
Oh, it was brilliant. It was really good. And we still do it now. So we did it in 2018. So ahead of the curve, ahead of COVID. And it was just, we basically said to the team, this is a trial though, and it's down to you guys to help us make this work. We thought about parameters and ways that it wouldn't impact clients, and we kind of mapped that out. But we were like, we don't know everything around this. We're going on this as a fresh journey together. and it's down to you in the teams to make this work. Like if we suddenly get a ton of client complaints and clients leaving or something like that, then we will not be able to keep doing this, as lovely as it is. But that never happened. That we maybe had the odd client issue, which then the team worked out, right, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to make sure? I think probably the team it affected the most is paid media, because your ads are always on. And if something needs to happen on a Friday and someone's not around, then that can be like, if a client's, I don't know, sold out of something or wants an offer taken down for the weekend, it's pretty impactful that they need to be able to pick that up. But it changed things. So again, if you think back then, we were an in-person team, and people hardly worked from home. They could have, I don't know, they had a delivery coming. That was what it was like back then. But otherwise, we were in the office. And one of the big things we noticed is pre-going to the 4-day week that people would get in 8, half 8. They meant to be like 9 till half 5 were their hours, but they'd get in 8, half 8, and they probably wouldn't leave till 6, half 6. And no one looked that stressed about it. And it wasn't because they had to, but that was just kind of what they do. And we went to the 4-day week, and suddenly, so their hours changed. So we do compressed hours. So for example, someone would do 8 till 6:15, 4 days a week. But suddenly they were in at 8, leaving at 6:15, and not touching anything on a Friday. So they were actually doing similar hours to what they'd done before, just on 4 days. But where they had the eye on the prize of, I don't actually have to work on Friday. So if I just get stuff done. And so productivity went up. It really did. It changed a bit, I guess, in COVID, because there was no point in having a day off. So we've flexed it a lot more now. It's much more flexible. Some people do 4 days, some do 4.5, some still do 5 because it works better, but might in the school holidays drop down to 4. Some do weird and wonderful hours, but we've got kind of our core hours that we expect people to be working. That makes it easy for us to collaborate, because that's really important. So I know some agencies have gone to, you can work whatever hours you want, and then you get the developer that works in the middle of the night or whatever. We've not gone that far because collaboration is so key to us, and it wouldn't work. But we've got a lot of flexibility in there, and it's just brilliant. And I think one of the things for me, I used to work in an agency where the senior leadership team, probably as most people think when they look at the senior people, the business owners, they used to just swan around doing whatever they wanted. And they really did swan. And it was quite demotivating. And so I always had the view that I'd be present, the team would know that I was working, and I wanted to show them the effort and energy that I was putting into our business. And it was brilliant, because actually suddenly I'd given myself permission on a Friday to not have to work and to be able to go and have a nice day.
And it's lovely that you give people that flexibility and that autonomy. What an amazing journey you've been on the past 13 years. Becky, tell us, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for Reflect? What's next for the Human First Collective?
Wow, big question. So Human First Collective is around building what we stand for and what we're trying to do. At the heart of what we want any business that's in the group already or in future might join the group is around utilizing tech and AI where we can to make space for humans to be brilliant, is the core message. So it's about, we've got obviously our use of human behavior that we have. So we've got our behavioral science team, but it's also more than that. It is around giving us space to actually use the empathy and the intelligence and the understanding that we have as humans, that I don't believe AI will ever be as good as we are at doing. So it's like, actually, how much stuff can we give to AI to do that's mundane, boring, and doesn't use our best skills, and give us the time to do what we're great at? So that's kind of Human First Collective. Reflect, we are still back building, really. Like, it was a tough year last year, and the exit from Lab, and then the purchase of Lab. So it's been a really tough market. So I'm always really candid. Like, we're stabilizing, we're working out where we're going. There's been a lot of work going on in Lab to rework out what their proposition to the market is. So that's really exciting. And they've won some really great projects this year, which is brilliant. And then we've also got Aspiration Digital, which is our conference that we run to inspire our next generation of digital leaders and digital colleagues. And that we're in the process at the moment of spinning that out into a proper CIC, so a community interest company, so that we can start to leverage some funding to help us grow that. We've been running these events for 6 years now, and our next event is going to be 1,000 students, so the biggest we've ever done. But I want to do more, and I want to be able to take it around the country. So we're looking for some bigger sponsors to get involved and help us. So we've been running some dinners and trying to get people like Google and Amazon around the table, which has worked, and we've had some really interesting conversations. So yeah, that's one of my big passion projects. So really looking forward to seeing what we can do with that. And yeah, next year running our biggest event yet, which will be brilliant.
Wow, so exciting. Becky, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. Thank you so much for sharing about your journey. I've learned loads of new things. It's been really interesting. Thank you. You've been listening to Human Powered, the podcast all about creating a high-performing agency or consultancy business. Thanks for tuning in.